My name's Luke Elgar. I'm a CWU Postal and National Executive Council member. I'm here in sunny Southend on Sea today at Southend MPU, where we're talking to members and local reps about everything, covering USO, takeover talks and Daniel Kretinsky in particular, and of course the matter of pay talks, which are live as we speak. So we're here getting a view of the shop floor. With me right now, I've got two people from the floor in Southend. To my right is Rob. Do you want to introduce yourself, Rob?
Yeah, I'm Rob Bartlett, CWU rep for Southend MPU, predominantly Southend and Westcliff, but I have been a member for 41 years, 34 years as a rep, and it's been the best 41 years of my life.
Okay, great. And to my left, we have Olivia. Olivia?
Hello, my name's Olivia Barnard. I've been a postie here for 3.5 years, and I am part of the union as well.
Excellent. So, yeah, as you can see, this is really about the members' focus session, the view from the floor in Southend-on-Sea, and basically we're going to cover everything. So, no specific topic today, very much a free-flowing conversation, but to say there's one specific issue would be wrong. We've got three, I'd say, major issues going on right now with it. USO that's taking place, as I've said, this is one of the pilot offices with a takeover live right now, and all the issues with that, and we're going to get views on that, and obviously, and then pay talks, which is burning on everyone's lips at the moment. So I guess where to start? Let's start with the takeover, and I guess I'll come to you first, Rob, if that's all right. We've got a guy, a billionaire, and obviously he's now going to be owning a national asset, Royal Mail, one of the jewels of the crown of the UK. I guess it could be, we could say it's scary stuff, but in the context of everything going on back the last few years, the dispute, so on and so forth, quality of service and the state of the company, I guess what's your views on it? Good, bad, whatever you think?
Well, listen, I'm just going to be myself, as people from the MPU would know. At the moment, he's coming across on the everything else that he's Father Christmas. He's going to look after all the staff. He's going to make us move forward. He's getting the electric vehicles in here. He's doing a lot of the right things, right? But like when I was a boy, and I always say this out loud, and I've said this on the floor, I wanted a chopper bike for the people of my era, right? I never got a chopper bike, right? So I'm weary of all the promises he's made. He doesn't put them into practice. Because at the moment, since the takeover's come in, and he's been talking about for over a year, right? The morale in the last 4 to 8 weeks within Southend has shot right down. Walks aren't going out, not been done, cutting back on overtime, and this is the public we're talking about. We're neglecting the public where we should be actually trying to give the public what they've paid for and trying to encourage them to use the post even more, right? That's my only fear about Křetínský. He's a billionaire, and billionaires become billionaires by making money and not spending money on the workforce. That's my only concern about it at the moment.
And I guess, yeah, look, so you're right here. And I guess your honest views, look, the CWU has been, I guess, accused of not challenging this takeover enough in some parties. Equally, you know, look, I think we've taken a pragmatic view in saying that the current board that we've worked with for the last few years haven't been a friend of quality of service, haven't been a friend of service in general, haven't for 1 second cared about the employees and the people on the shop floor here in Southend. So one thing that, look, you know, could it be any worse? But equally, you know, are we jumping to bed with someone who could be fundamentally worse? Could be an asset stripper and so on and so forth. I guess, what do you think on the CW's general take on this?
Listen, I do believe, having spoken to Dave Ward and Martin, right, we have to change. The CW has to change. The world is changing. Technology is the way forward. For me personally, right, as I said, first of all, the best 41 years of my working career. Not always been the best paid job, but it's always been family values. I've grown up with people that are still in the job now, right? I want to somebody of a younger age to have a job there for 41 years, have a mortgage, have kids, see their kids through university, right? Get grandkids on the backdrop of being a postie. That's my aim at the moment, because I want them to succeed in life.
Yeah.
And they can only do that with the support of Royal Mail, the CWU. Because the CW has always been there for me, as Royal Mail has been there for me, right? But at the moment, we seem to be fragmented, them and us. And that has been caused by the Simon Thompson era, right? the industrial action. That has caused fragmentation between the CWU on the floor, people not trusting the CWU, and it's also destroyed our trust in Royal Mail. Sorry, I'm hogging this. Sorry.
No, so we come to Rob twice, but that ties us on perfectly to Olivia. So Rob's touched on people who have longevity in their career. As a person that's only been 3.5 years in the business compared to Rob's 40 odd years. Same question really. What do you think of Daniel Kretinsky? Does he give you faith? Does the approach of the union give you faith that we're moving in a positive direction? And more importantly, what do you want out of the future of the company as your employment and something that puts you a roof over your head?
Yeah, I think it's hard because obviously I've not got the years like Rob's got, and he's known so many different people to want to run or own this business. The Simon Thompson era was kind of a bit like, that was when I first started, and then we was on strike and kind of sorting all of them things out. But this new guy, I don't know, same as Rob, you're saying all of these amazing things that you're slowly putting into place, but it's the case of can you make that continue throughout the business? Like, you've got people like Amazon who only strictly want to deliver parcels, and people don't so much want to deliver the letters anymore because apparently there's no money in them, but who else is going to do this? Royal Mail has been doing it for God knows how many years, and I don't know who else would want to take that on. And at the end of the day, all of these people that work here enjoy this job. We enjoy being outside
100%.
year round. So it's one of those, you want to keep that morale going. You don't want it to change too much because people won't want to work here anymore, which is the worry.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I guess change is, and I've never come across a single postie that doesn't understand the need for change, the need to move with the times and so on and so forth. But sometimes there's certainly this impression out there that they just want to move away from letters because it's a burden, focus on parcels. Whilst we obviously need to grow that aspect, there's people that rely on the service. And he's talked about understanding the importance of USO. But the proof of being the pudding, at the end of the day, a billionaire comes in to make money, don't they?
100%.
They never seem to have enough money. And this is, I guess, where the union has to play a pivotal role. We've relied on the government to play a role. I guess that'll come on to my next point, Rob. What do you think the Labour Party? We've historically had ties with the Labour Party. We get criticised for it. They get slammed over winter fuel allowance issues and stuff like that, understandably. So where do you think they play a role in this? Where should they be holding Mr. Kretinsky account?
One thing I'm a Labour voter through and through. Right? I do believe nationalisation is the way forward because other countries in Europe, the European Union, nationalise a lot of their industry, their railways. So I do think Keir Starmer is moving in the right direction. He's talking to the union because we get that feedback from Dave Ward and Martin Walsh. They've got the golden share, an agreement with Křetínský, why they're in power. What does worry me is the feeling within the country, and I don't like saying this because everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? If after 4 years Keir Starmer gets voted out again, what would happen to the golden share? Because I don't trust the Conservatives, right? Because they're a bit like a billionaire. They want to make money. They're here to make money on the backdrop of the working class people, right? I think the money should be shared equally out, right? My analogy is always when Robin Hood was about and you had Prince John, King John, right? Who was the hero? Robin Hood, because he looked after the common, normal people, right? And that's what worries me about the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be talking like that.
No, not at all, mate. This is your session, guys, and I mean that. This is about the views on the floor. We have a wide-ranging set of views around different political views in terms of we're a microcosm, aren't we, in a Royal Mail workplace of the UK in general. And I think whilst we have a whole different views, it is important we get across our point of view in terms of why the union works with certain parties better than others, and it's because of protecting terms and conditions and the histories of that, but we do have concerns of where they're going. I guess sticking on the takeover for a little bit further, but also as a general theme, he's going to need to look, if this company is going to be successful, I'd argue he needs to invest in Royal Mail in a big way. Where do you think it's lacking, I guess? Where do you think that money needs to go in terms of the stuff you work with day to day? I'm coming to Olivia on this one. And in terms of keeping people in the industry so that they're not leaving because they think it's a bad gig?
That's a hard one. because there's lots of things that could do with improvements within Royal Mail, but that's the same as any company. Definitely letters, that needs to stay. I feel like you've got the older generation who rely on these kind of ways of transferring these information through. You've got people like my grandparents or great-grandparents who don't know how to work phones, don't know how to use email addresses, etc. So things as letters are what they rely on, it's all they've ever known. Definitely, I don't know, it's a hard one. Electric vehicles, I like the idea of that. That's a very, very good idea with the way the world's going anyway. Talking about the environment and everything and making that a bit better. And they personally look better than the vans we've got now. But yeah, that's my main concern, is the letter side of things. We're Royal Mail at the end of the day, we're not Royal Parcel, so that's my only concern, really.
Well said, yeah.
No, and look, quality of service is a big one. I don't think you survive as a company without having that credibility you get from delivering the service and people respect you. That's why when people try and run, I think the company has deliberately run service into the ground, deliberately focus on parcels. But ultimately, the relationship with the customer, the brand of Royal Mail relies on that, coming down the path, working with, as you've touched on, Olivia, supporting elderly people, supporting people who just can't get to the shops and so on and so forth, or communicate via email. So, quality of service, whilst it might just seem like it's just focused on what profit or let us bring in, it all bounds into the sort of reputation of Royal Mail, doesn't it? So this is, I think you've absolutely nailed the point bang on there. Without protecting that, the company doesn't grow and attract new customers and so on and so forth. So, and then you touched on fleet as well. Do you think that a lot of the equipment's knackered, or do you think it works well?
Without using any wrong words, they're awful. they're not the greatest vans to drive, but then I suppose they're all, majority of the vans, and I think the newest ones are maybe 2020 plates, but majority of them are 2009 to 2014, and they've definitely seen better days.
No, fair enough. So, look, I guess now...
Sorry, can I just come in on there?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Křetínský hasn't bought this company if he didn't believe in it, if he didn't believe he could make money in it. So we need him to show him that we are a community-based British firm, and he should commit himself to saying, I am going to give you the tools to do the job properly. He needs to get the logistics right. He needs to remember that one size doesn't fit all. We've got 5 foot people, we've got 6'8" people. You can't judge people on their age, size, any disabilities like that. We have to be here to serve the community. If you are given that round, it's Mr. Kretinsky and his advisor that said, that round will make me X amount of millions of pounds up and down the country, then that person should be able to do that round without any fear of saying, no, you've just got to take the parcels out today because I want the parcels done, because it can't be achieved. And this is on the floor now from Southend, right? So at that point there, we should be saying to the people in charge, no, people have waited in for them letters, like Olivia's alluded to. There's pensioners who don't do emails, are waiting for hospital letters, right? Sometimes a hospital letter, you could have an operation within 3 or 4 days, they found a slot for you. These people don't have the iPhones, so we're neglecting the old people. Don't forget, these old people made this country the country it is. They made the post office by believing in the post office. So we should be supporting them now.
And I guess, look, so we've touched on quality of service. It's going to move, the conversation's naturally going to move into USO, this being a USO pilot office. But you said at the start of the office, quality of service isn't where it should be in here. Now, is that down to sickness? Is that because they're not paying overtime? Is that, we get mixed message naturally and we need to be challenged it. What do you think we should be doing as a union to make sure that we're challenging Royal Mail and putting them on the spot in terms of delivering quality of service?
What I just alluded to, right? When we had nights and early mornings in, right? And people don't want to hear this, but posties will understand this. They had an incentive. The incentive, they could actually make an hour, hour and a half. They would still complete their rounds, but the rounds would be done. So they would come in, and on the backdrop of that, they would come in half an hour earlier, which we've always said you shouldn't do that, show Royal Mail how to do the job properly. But they used to come in half an hour earlier, got the job done, got the whole round done. Now they've been kept on the sorting till 10, half 10, 11 o'clock. They're not going out till 11 o'clock. They're bringing a quarter, half a round back, or just as I've just told you, they're only doing parcels. So we're not giving the public the quality they deserved. So my question is, what's gone wrong and I have flagged this up to certain people, and I'm not going to drop names here, higher up the gravy chain on the CWU side, and nothing seemed to get done. And that's causing that little feeling that we still trust the CWU. And like I said, I've grown up with the CWU, and they've been the best thing as a union to me. So we've got to get that trust back again. And the only way we can get that trust back again is by showing Royal Mail and the members the CWU supports them. I had an incident last week being a rep. I got told by this postman, right? He's a lead postman, he's a DP driver. There's no locks on the doors. If you don't like the terms and conditions you're working on now, you can leave. I flagged it up to his rep, right, and said, put that in, put a grievance in, and do you know what? Nothing happens. They just talk to us now as if it do the job, but we want to give the public what they deserve. No, you do as told. You do the told. And it's wrong. It's a two-way thing. We are both working together. And I always do this because I like football. I do the analogy, and everybody will laugh at this when they see this, right? If you lose the dressing room, the managers lose their job. The players don't lose their job, the managers lose their job. So we need to get the players and the manager on board believing in the product.
And I can absolutely confirm that Rob does love a football analogy. So there's the first one today, probably the first of many. I think Rob touched on an important point there, which is live on at the moment, and I'm coming to live in this, which is what we used to call job and knock, which is, I guess, first he said, look, all different ages, sizes, genders and whatnot, delivering the service and maintaining the pace, and we set averages now that the company work to set how long a round should be, and I guess that we accused of finishing early job and knock side of things is something that Rob's lived with because he's been used to it for all these times. But what's your take on it? I mean, do you think we're living in the past, or do you think we should be getting done early because you work your hours, that's what a company does? Or do you think if you work faster enough and you do make a bit of time, you're incentivised by finishing early, you'll probably get more delivered in general? Or, what's your take on it, Libby?
Yeah, obviously there's a massive range of age gap in this office. Obviously I'm only 21, so I believe I'm probably one of the youngest, if not the youngest person in this office. You've got people who can retire next month, you've got people who are middle-aged, you've got men, you've got women, all different shapes and sizes. No one's ever going to work at the same pace. If you're on a van chair like me, my work partner Barry, we work very, very well together. I'd say we're probably about the same pace, but you're always guaranteed one person's going to have a loop heavier than the other, and you're always one person might be back to the van before the other person, so you've got that little bit of waiting around. But it's hard, because I think if you finish early and you've done all of your work, you're then coming back and you're being told to go out and continue other people's work. It's frustrating sometimes, because it's a bit like, well, I've finished my job at the end of the day, and then you've got other people who, from the minute they get into the building, haven't even seen what work they've got, are saying, oh, I can't do that, I'm not completing that today. So we're then having to clean up what they've left behind, which obviously doesn't bother me in the slightest, because at the end of the day, I finished early. It's just one of those, if you're finishing that tad bit early and you're going to get sent back out, have your break, slow down a little bit, have a chat with people. That's just what we've been used to doing now. It's one of those things, when I first started, it was the case of, get done as fast as you can, be home by 1 o'clock. That's not possible anymore. But yeah, I think same as when obviously all of this USO is officially going to start to come in. I know I've heard people say about voluntary redundancies. That's one of those where I think it's hard. They need to think on the people they're obviously going to offer this to, because you've got people who I think will take it because they're close to retirement age and they'd be silly not to. But then I think you've got the other people who do struggle a little bit, aren't close to retirement age, but struggle maybe physically a little bit and are that little bit slower. And I don't think you can penalise them people, because, like I said, not everyone's going to be a super fast pace that you want everyone to be. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, in the job. So yeah, I think it's a hard situation. Again, it's just no one's ever going to work the same.
And I guess there's swings and there's a balance to it, isn't there? Argument, you'll finish 3 hours before delivery time. You're going to, as a union, struggle to maintain the argument saying everyone finishes. But equally, chasing over every minute of every day and trying to make people work harder whilst simultaneously trying to make them work every minute. do you get the best out of people, or do you get does it improve productivity? I'd argue it doesn't. Personally, I think a bit of leeway in terms of making a bit of time it shouldn't be chased every minute. And yeah, I guess maybe we're dinosaurs in that respect, but I think you definitely get more out of people with a little bit of incentive there.
100%. And also another thing as well, I think the past week, or this week actually, we've been told that they're making cuts on overtime this week, which is one of those. Me and obviously my work partner Barry, I know I've mentioned him before, we're happy to do overtime. We'll do overtime every day if we need to, if we can help clear up where walks are failing, which we obviously don't mind doing. It's helping our pocket at the end of the day as well. But we're now being told this week that we can't clear up. Our walk next to us yesterday, they only took one walk out between a van share. So it's one of those that it's hard again. It's just the way they work. No one's ever going to work the same, and I think they need to find where these things are going wrong and try and figure out on how they can change these to make it better for everyone.
Well, sorry, just coming in there on a lot what Olivia just said. I put that down to man management. Everyone's not the same. If one walk all of a sudden has had a bulk posting, or they've been hit by extra packets, certain areas get a lot more packets than other areas, right? So the manager could say to Olivia and Barry, right, look, here's an hour, can you clear their parcels? So that would then give the opportunity, the other people, to do more, to get more letters out on their rounds. So it's all about man management. It's not, like I said at the beginning, it's not one size fits all. You have to be a manager and you have to look at all your staff and go, he's struggling a bit there. I've got my little budget to work to. Can I help him? If I can help him, he gets his work out because he's judged on his quality of service and his complaints. So he would help his job and his results and his bonus, right? And it would also help Olivia and Barry and the other people who want to do that little bit of extra to get the work out. So that's what it's called. It's man management. And we don't seem to have we've got 2 or 3 managers within the MPU, which I class as old style managers. They man manage the situation. But on the whole, the newer ones are coming in, they're told what to do, they walk around with a little computer, right, and say, right, this is my budget, no overtime, no overtime, no overtime. That information is being cascaded down from above, right? So we're never going to get the USO correct, right? And that worries me about smoke and mirrors chasing shadows, right, on Křetínský, right? If this does fail, we are going to be losing, we're on a 3-day working week. So we have to make this work. But making it work has to work both ways. As I said earlier, he has to invest in the project and the logistics. If he does that, this is a fantastic product, but that's on the backdrop of £190 million loss last time. So if you put that in context, right, that's nearly £200 million he could have made if the previous owners of Royal Mail, who ran Royal Mail, had done the job properly. So we didn't want to go on strike. We were there to do the work, but we were getting pushed down and told, you will do this, you will do that. No one works good if they're actually forced to do something.
And I guess, look, I'm going to have to touch on the overtime issue. This is because we're picking this up right across the country. There's no real justification for ceasing overtime when there's walks on the deck. So we really need to be challenging that at local level up to our level. And I'm sure, that will be supported and we'll have to resolve that ASAP because it's nonsensical, especially as an office going into a USO trial to be failing walks when there's people there available to do it. So, look, I guess really now and down on the USO trial element. Concerns about, this is a pilot office, one of the 37. I think it's going to be the last one to deploy. It's one of the biggest, certainly. How many walks do we have in here, Rob?
270, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So look, this is a huge unit. It's going to be a big tester. I believe that, the likelihood is the first one to go for a 9-day fortnight duty pattern. This is one of the, this is what I'm hearing from the local reps, including yourself at the moment. Benefits of USO starting with, and let's not all start on negative.
I think we're here to give the public what they want. Like Olivia said, the public do want their first class letters, the important letters, every day. And this new trial does do it. We've got 2 fantastic people from the CWU involved in it, Mark Davis and Andy Monteith, and the knowledge they've got, and they are working with the planners, but again, they're putting things towards the hierarchy of Royal Mail, and we've hit a brick wall. And it does, when they tell the staff, we're hoping to get them full-time, part-time and up to full-time, we're hoping to start on the 19th of May, no, it's going back to the 2nd of June now. I haven't even got any confidence in the 2nd of June. If we want to make this work, we have to trial it, get it up and running, trial it, because I would always say, another football analogy, if you lose, right, you learn by your mistakes, right? That's what a trial's about. So you have pre-season training, you lose in a pre-season game, right? You learn by it and you put that right in the next game. And you keep doing that until you get it right. That's what a trial about. Not saying we can't agree, can't move forward. We need to move forward at pace to get the product, making it 100% perfect again, which we can do. Like Olivia said, postmen do want to deliver letters in all weather conditions. Hot, cold, rain, they're out there in their shorts. People make a laugh about it. Posties around again, middle of winter, snow falling, they're in their shorts. But you know that's the biggest advert we've got as a product. Posties are out there in all conditions, right, in the rain, in the snow, delivering their mail. You know, they don't, and we have got a good product. One thing we don't do is take photos of every parcel we do. Yeah, people tell us put them in the blue bins, put them around the back. That's the local knowledge we've got. And Amazon, they leave them on the doorstep. So let's improve on that. Let's get the Amazon orders back to us. Let's get the Boots, the Adidas orders back to us, the Nike orders back to us, because we can deliver that product.
So you touched on duty sets there. I know there's an outstanding issue around the rest day cover duty pattern. I think that's a live one. I know that's up to the area level, and that's I think we're confident we're going to get into a place where that's agreed. In terms of, look, I'll be honest, I've got a slightly different view in terms of the timeline. Yes, I think it was meant to be 25th of June. It's now looking at 25th of May, now looking at 2nd of June. I guess one of the things I'm concerned about, and I know this is a concern about right across the country, is the speed of change and making sure that the requirement we get it right before we go live, picking up all those input from local parties rather than just allowing the planner to run away with it. And that's so, you know, look, I think we absolutely need to get right with the timelines in terms of, yeah, Royal Mail want to get this, a lot of offices, if we was to move into and agree this as part of the pay talks and so on and so forth, move into tons of them across up to Christmas and getting them done before Christmas, you know, there's going to have to be means tested, isn't it, in terms of this has to deliver the quality of service that they're promising to deliver as part of the change. Olivia, in terms of USO, you know, is it something that's really on your conscience, or is it something you just think, well, I'll come to work and I'll run with what I have to do on the day, or is it something you're actually concerned about? You know, what's your take on it?
I mean, me personally, I'm not too worried about it. I've only just since October managed to get my own walk, which is quite impressive considering I've only been here for this small amount of time. But you've got people like, I'll go back to my work partner again, Barry, who's been on that walk or within that area for the past 15 years. And with this USO coming up, everyone's going to have to re-sign. And he's not guaranteed to get that walk, which is unfortunate because, like Rob said, he's got the knowledge. He knows everyone. He's seen people who have had babies and their kids are now 15, 16. He knows where to put parcels. He knows where there's problems going wrong. He knows how to fix them. He knows where he can take parcels if they're not in. I definitely think this knowledge helps within this job massively. But towards the USO, I haven't got any major concerns. I think the only concern with most people that I've heard actually on the floor is the fact of you've got the EV duties who will be delivering, I believe, first class and all the packets.
Yep.
And then you've got the van chair side of things that are going to be doing another walk and taking everything. I think the only downside that people are worried about is that it's going to work out that we're delivering double mail pretty much every day. I think that's a concern of most people. If people aren't completing their own walks now, and then you're going to have to deal with that extra work on top, I think that is a concern for some people. And that is the only concern that I can think of right now.
Yeah, no, look, this is a big one, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not working at the moment, you add all those delivery, that call rate increase.
Yep.
You know, it's not going to fix itself just by implementing USO. So I think we need to be live to that and looking at those duties as of now before it goes live to make sure that they're achievable.
The thing that worries me, sorry, coming on there, Olivia.
That's right.
These people are doing the two walks one day, the following day the other 2 walks, and then you've got the EV duties. That is going to, for Barry, that's going to be a major culture change. And he's not going to be fully motivated to do the other walks. He doesn't know where to go. So I think, again, it's a car crash. Just coming on the USO, and I am sceptical of this, right? Mr. Křetínský is a billionaire, right? If we don't get these trials in, that's why I said we need to get the trials in and see whether we're making the mistakes. Because if we don't get the trials, we could be heading for a 3-day working week. which means 40,000 postmen lose their jobs. Mr. Křetínský, right, has then destroyed the CWU, right? He's destroyed a national service on the backdrop of holding up and not putting the money in to get the job done properly. I know that's controversial from both sides, and I do agree with Martin Walsh and Dave Ward that we need to change, but we need to change with his support. We're prepared to do the change, but listen to the floor. If he doesn't listen to the floor, we're not going to get that change and we're going to lose jobs. And we don't want to lose jobs. The public are going to lose a service, a 500-year service, right, which has been serving this country for 500 years. So let's carry on for another 500 years, right? But we need to learn, like I've said before, by our mistakes. I don't agree with, and I know we've all agreed this, where we're doing different walks, because I grew up where a postman went on, did one round, he got to know the public, he delivered that round, did it all properly. Now we're changing people's mindset. I do understand the parcels, but the parcels didn't have to change from where they were before, right? Because again, I did parcels for 25 years. I got to know my customers. I knew they were working in Morrison's, Tesco's. I knew they were in, I took it there because they were at their school days. I didn't go to certain people's houses because the school times were running, right? We are doing things now, right, where we're actually encouraging, right, later times when people might be in from 10 till 5, because nowadays, both partners have to work to even give them a chance in the South East Essex area of getting a mortgage, because it's so expensive down here. And I also agree, and again, sorry, Olivia, I'm holding
That's
this,
all
right? When they say the mail is down, I want them to come to this office and see some of the flames every day.
Yeah.
Have a look. The mail's not down.
No, it's
the
not.
The parcels are not down. We've had a growth, and yet we're cutting back on overtime. You know, there was on the last arrangement from the last people was if the mail increased and the parcels increased, we would upscale to increase the overtime. They haven't done that. They've cut back. Just walk round. Get some of the hierarchy to come round and have a look at the frames. Here we are on a Tuesday and the frames are full up.
Yeah.
And yet we're told there's no mail. The mail's dropping, 29% down. It's not true.
So I guess that ties into sort of general culture themes and how do you? I guess since the dispute, there's an argument that things haven't gone back to the way they were in terms of relationships with managers at all levels, at national level, and obviously, you know, we're not here to talk about specific names in certain offices or whatnot. But in terms of culture in general, do you think? I'll start with Olivia on this one. Do you think there's been I guess you started during the dispute, so
Yeah.
is it normal? Do you think this is normal, a crazy sort of culture in Royal Mail, or have you seen improvements, less pressure, or yeah, what's your general take?
I think after the strikes there was definitely a bit of relief. I think after all of that happened, everyone kind of felt like a bit of normality was coming back. Mm-hmm. And then ever since all of this new stuff has kind of been mentioned, and now obviously it's now taking place, which I think, yeah, it's one of those, it's a business that, yeah, it's moving with time, you've got to move with technology, etc. and everything. So I understand why they've got to trial these different options to see what works best in what way. But yeah, I still agree with Rob to a sense that they're making all of these changes, but majority of these people that are deciding to make these changes have never done a walk in their life. And it's a bit like, I feel like you should come down to these offices that are trialling it and ask the posties their opinions. If you're not getting their opinions, then you're never going to understand what's going to work best as a whole, as a company. I feel like that's the best thing, and that was a lot of people's concerns down there. If you was to sit down and ask people their concerns, you could fix these situations like that. You could fix it in a blink.
And in terms of, I guess, so one thing, look, with USO change, we're looking to reduce the service in terms of how often second class is delivered. That's and then looking just to focus on parcels, obviously trying to grow that area, which is naturally growing. Yeah. I don't think that's going to die out anytime soon. But I think as well, as a union, we need to be pushing for growth in other areas to protect jobs. You know, just relying on what, you know, focus on parcels that we believe is growing, but there's other areas. I mean, this might be a sort of union-dominated conversation as such, but do you see areas that you think Royal Mail could dip into to start improving its financial situation? It's linked to the public. It's, you know, it's idea as service.
I know I'm going back to Barry again, but he brought up a brilliant situation the other day. Obviously, Rob said about Amazon. Amazon don't really give a crap what they do. They'll bring a parcel and it's straight on their doorstep and off they go. They're not bothered. They're getting paid by the packet, which I understand. If you're delivering a parcel, you're getting paid for that. We're lucky, and obviously we're paid by like the hour, the day, etc. Barry mentioned packets about this big, the little Amazon packets are about that big and about that thin. How much is that to send a package like that? £2-3, maybe more? Via Royal Mail? We need to prioritise packets like that. If we've got too much mail and they say us, like Rob said earlier, to prioritise packets, they always say tracked. Whereas, whether it's first class or second class, someone's still paid to have that parcel sent. We need to take advantage of them smaller packets and say every one of them's a couple of quid each time. We need to take advantage of Amazon not wanting to do that and DPD, because they want the big parcels. They're the ones that cost the most. Whereas if you've got 10 little parcels that we can all fit through a letterbox, that's the same price as DPD delivering one big parcel. So I feel like that's definitely something we can improve on taking the smaller parcels away from other companies and promoting it here, because it's still money at the end of the day and it's still growing that parcel business. I know it's on the smaller side of parcels, but that's still £2-3 for a small package.
Yeah, and I'll come to Rob with the same question, but just to stick with yourself for a minute, Olivia. I think we've heard Dave Wall talk about potentially becoming, linking up more with the NHS and delivering sort of care services, checking on elderly people. You're right with that? You would be comfortable?
100%. 100%. On my old round, I was on that for a couple of years, so basically since I started, I had some of the best customers. They were brilliant. I think there were some people, they say they weren't on their own, but I'm pretty certain they were. Christmas time, I'd always like to check up. It's a bit like, I never know what someone's going through. And if I've had a bad day at home, I'm never ever going to bring that into work, because I don't want to force that onto my customers. If I want my customers to be able to come to me with their problems or just have a conversation, if they're feeling lonely but won't tell me, but they just want to stand there and have a conversation with me, that's 5 minutes of my day. I'm more than happy to do that. 100%. Like Rob said earlier, the older generation have made this country the way it is, and we need to look after them.
I guess that's a constant theme across Royal Mail. We've been a service for 500 years. I know we talk about it all the time, but we never lose that sense of being part of the fabric of society. I know,
what you just said about the NHS prescriptions, we could get that contract on the backdrop of the passport contract, where we actually guarantee, we've got that passport, the return passports, we have to give that the priority to get it in. We've got that contract, we've got the infrastructure in place. So we should have a team going out there and saying, we can do that job. Because the postman will do that job. We're not adverse to change, but work with us with the change. Like Olivia said, if it goes through a letterbox, we can do that. We'll give the parcel force our bigger parcels, but the smaller packets, and there's lots of smaller packets out there, we can actually do that job far better than Amazon. And do you know what goes up, what people like as well? When Olivia walks up the path, she's got a uniform on, and it says Royal Mail. When an Amazon driver goes up there, he goes up there in a pair of shorts, a T-shirt on, and throws it on the step. There is a lot to say for Royal Mail and looking the part as a Royal Mail as a product.
Yeah, so I guess, coming on to my sort of final, obviously big subject, we're now on talks. The executive is due to meet over the weekend, and obviously we're hoping at that point that we're in place with an agreement after talks have continued with the company and led by the officers of the CWU. I guess, where do you think the CWU needs to be focusing its priorities in terms of what the members need out of this round of pay talks, and linking, obviously, if we're agreeing to massive change under USO, what we should be getting out of it, what we should be,
This is going to be controversial, Luke, because we went to the AGM, the SXML AGM, and I said, off the floor, the members are asking for a good pay rise on the backdrop of the last couple of years, not having really a pay rise on that there. So I know on the floor, I think they're looking at a figure that starts with a 5 to start with in front of it, because they're worried about annualised hours, and they're worried now, our wages now are on par with shop workers and that side of it. Minimum wage, we're on £13.40 an hour. So we need to start putting that product in. And I've just told you, if we do more work and we bring the company more profit in, we should be getting a part of that profit back. And I personally think, not in a bonus scheme, because I'm coming to retirement age and I've got a fantastic pension coming through from Royal Mail, because I've never been used to earning thousands of pounds, but my pension with my state pension will cover virtually what I'm earning, what I do with Royal Mail. So I'm one of the lucky people. So I want to be able to do that to the Olivia's people, the people in their 50s and 60s. So their pension will go up. It doesn't go up with a bonus. It goes up with your basic pay. So I do believe it should start with a 5, right? And I do believe the next round of talks should start on how we've improved and how much profit we can put back and reinvest in the staff on the backdrop of maybe a profit. I know they're talking about 20% of the profit will go to the staff, but I also believe maybe 10%, but 10% more should go into basic pay, so that will actually improve their pensionable pay. I know youngsters, Olivia will go, I don't want to pay into a pension, but I joined.
I do.
I joined and went, I don't want to pay tax. I went home to mum and dad, I said, what's this? Tax, I don't want to pay tax, but you pay it. When you get to my age, you think, cool, that's a nice little lump sum I've got there. That's a nice little pension I've got there. And that's what you should be looking for, so you enjoy your retirement. Because you work for a long time, so you should be having money to enjoy your retirement. And that can only happen on basic pay. So I do think our top table, Martin Walsh, Tony, right, should be pushing for a higher basic pay, and on the back, instead of a 3-year deal, get a good 1-year deal, and then sit down at the second year and say, where are we? Then we can actually say, but for the last 2 years prior to this, we haven't had a pay rise. And if we start with a figure of 3 in front of it, which I think inflation is 3.5, that's £3.50 in every 100, right? Take a bit of tax off that, you're on £3. Have they seen the price of food and the cost of living crisis? So we do need to push for a bigger pay rise. What I'm only representing the views of the floor. So they are looking at 5 to 6 pay rise.
And look, obviously, a big part of this, Olivia, won't affect you because you've been in the company for 3.5 years, as you've said. So you're on what we, I guess we hate to call legacy terms and conditions. What we want to harmonise as part of this as much as possible, looking at aspects. I guess I'm putting you on the spot here because you're going to look awkward if you say one answer, but does it bother you about new entrants with terms and conditions? That doesn't impact your contract or your pay, so you've got the terms and conditions that go back historically. Do you think the CW should be focused on that, or focusing on just on what impacts people have been in already?
I definitely think a pay rise has obviously got to happen because, when I first got this job, my whole family was thinking, like, you're in Royal Mail, like, that's a good job to have. Like, it's brilliant pay, your pension's going to be amazing, and like Rob said, we're on par with everyone else on the high street now, we're on that same pay. But for the newcomers, I'm not sure exactly what their contract's like. At Christmas, I fell unwell at work and had an operation 2 days later to have my appendix out, and I was off for 6 weeks. Them 6 weeks I got paid, which I'm very, very, very fortunate for. But I don't know what shoes it's like if one of the newcomers, if that would have happened. I don't know whether they would have got paid or anything, but that definitely needs to be spoken about on what their contracts are like. Because, I am fortunate enough to be on that better contract, like you said, that's been going on for years and years. But I don't know, there's just a few things that I don't quite agree on with the way things have been dealt with towards new contracts. And I don't know whether they're going to want everyone to go on to them eventually, which I understand they probably will, because you've got to move forward with the company. But I think you're going to have to sit down and speak to everyone as well, because a lot of people will potentially leave the job if that new contract comes into place.
So, look, clear 100%, we can't go into the direction of chasing the new contracts. It needs to be then coming up to the level of the previous contracts and harmonising that way. I don't think the CW can ever be in the market of
again, just
downgrading them.
Coming in on that, Luke, sorry to interrupt you, right? These new entrants are the future of the CWU, right? If we don't look after them and they don't join the CWU, right, and we don't give them the perks of what we've had, we're not going to have a CWU. And I know a lot of work, right, being a rep, Martin Walsh has done a lot of work about the new entrants. So if that does happen, right, they will be looked after, which I think is a win-win all round. Because I don't think it's fair. If I'm doing one round with Olivia, I'm a part-time, I don't get sick pay, I don't get paid door-to-doors, right? I'm on less hours, right? I don't think that's right. If we're both doing the same job, pay us the same rate of pay, have the same conditions for everybody, right? That's my ethos on that situation there.
So I guess, look, in terms of, it's a good place to finish really, in terms of, for new entrants in particular, joining the CW, the importance of, some people might say, I would rather wait until we see what comes out of the pay deal to join the CW or see what they can do for me. I guess historically as a trade union, the CW isn't myself who sits at headquarters, it isn't even yourself at local level, it is the membership. We are just the voices for them. And I guess to finish, why is it so important, and or not important, you might say, to join the CWU? And equally, I'm going to start the conversation. I would argue 100% that you don't get things equalised, you don't harmonise pay and terms and conditions, you don't improve pay in general unless you're part of a union. That's exactly why we exist, and the strength comes from the members being strong, the company understanding that the members are right behind the leadership when they go into bat in those national talks. So, yeah, to sort of finish up, Rob, why would you say, what is the benefits of being part of the CWU?
My God, one thing I will say, it's the best decision I made to join the union all them years ago, right? For the perks and the conditions, I wouldn't have stayed in this job without the union, because the union have looked after me from day one, right? Paid meal relief, we still get paid meal relief now, right? Big perk, 40 minutes a day paid. You go anywhere outside of industry, they don't get paid. We get 5 weeks, they fought for 5-6 weeks holiday, right? They give the incentive, look, this is the union's looking after you. When somebody passes away, all the staff go to the funeral, the wake, that sort of thing, right? And that's encouraged by the union. And that has made us one big family. I've grown up with people within the Leigh-on-Sea area, right, who I class as family now. And that's being due to the CWU. The CWU has been an important part of my life. Listen, I can speak from the heart, right? Best decision of my life. And I would encourage anybody to join the CWU.
I will agree on that. When I first started, prior to this, I had never had a job this big. I was a personal trainer, and prior to that, I worked at McDonald's. But when I first joined, everyone was like, you need to join the union, you need to join the union. And I was like, what's the point in joining the union? Didn't see the importance of joining it. And everyone was so adamant, and I mean everyone was so adamant on you need to join the union. And I'm so glad I did, because, I mean, like yourself and even your dad, if I had any problems, I know that I could come to anyone in the union, like Andy Monteith, anyone like that, they're there to help me. Craig, all of them people, absolutely brilliant. And I can't, like I say, if you're joining Royal Mail, first thing you need to do when you get in is join the union. Be the best decision you do.
And equally, if you disagree with things the union do, being part of the union, that's where you shape policy decisions and you put pressure on us to get the right decisions and the right priorities. So, look, finish on that.
I'd like to, one more thing, sorry about that. I think this has been very informative and I felt relaxed here, right? But why can't we increase this into a question time evening where we have 20 people from the floor, you doing whatever the presenter is, asking questions from the floor, being filmed, right, in every area. Because you're speaking, again, I'm CWU through and through. I will ask the awkward questions. Olivia's come from the floor, but we're representing one person from the floor. Maybe we had 20 people in a room, like a question time, and they put their hands up, ask you a question, and have 2 or 3 from the headquarters, then you're getting the grassroots level. Instead of, you're talking to the converted here, I want this to work, right? But if we get the floor, which are some people anti-union, because they're not getting their questions answered, why can't we increase this sort of atmosphere to an evening session, 25, 30 people, question time, and then you're getting the whole floor, that's 10% of the floor from Southend asking the questions. Listen, Luke, I don't think all the questions you're going to be like what you're going to be asked, but at least then they're getting their points of view across. So possibly, can we increase this to...
So I guess over to Head of Comms, Chris Webb. I guess simple solutions to that. We've done a members meeting just on the floor here just weeks ago. Do we look at videoing them or just videoing? I guess we'd invite any time the comms team to come down to the Essex and Mail AGM.
I think that'd
and
be
video
I definitely think that's a good idea, because obviously, like myself, I've only been here for 3.5 years, so there's only so much I can compare it to. Whereas you've got people who've been here since they were 17, 18 and are now in their 60s. That can vouch and have always been a postie and can vouch different opinions to what I've got. So obviously I think it's good bringing someone in like me, because obviously I've got the newer opinions and I've seen how I've not got them old opinions to compare with. But I definitely think it'd help having them older opinions to compare with these newer ones.
Yeah, certainly. So some of the ones that are more... give us a harder time.
Yes,
in a way,
definitely.
I know it's not going to be nice, but in a way, yes.
No, that's what it's about. I don't think we've. I would say this. I don't think we've ever shied away from difficult questions, but let's do that. So,
and we're building bridges in again. We're building bridges, and that's what it should be about.
Exactly that. So, guess, look, wrap it up there, guys.
Thank you.
A massive
Yeah,
thank you to you, Olivia, for joining
okay.
us today.
Thank you for
and
inviting
taking your
me.
time out of your prep. Thank you to Rob for
welcome.
joining us
You're
today.
welcome.
And likewise to you. And thanks to everyone listening. And we'll wrap it up there, guys. Cheers.